Thank you. Kim, President Bottomley, very distinguished faculty, trustees, staff, sister alums, loving parents and grandparents and families, and all the friends who made all of this possible today, and above all, beautiful, bubbly members of the Royal Purple Class of 2010. Congratulations. I've even written my speech on purple paper today. Thank you for inviting me to your party. Thank you for letting me pretend I'm still here. And above all, thank you for showing me what the scream tunnel really sounds like. I celebrate your accomplishments and I share every single tingle of your excitement. This day is beyond special in your lives, and I am very honored to help welcome you out into the wide, wide world. Regrettably, I do not stand here to guarantee you a job. I can, however, guarantee lunch. Never underestimate lunch. I also stand here as living, breathing proof that Wellesley does indeed open the doors to the planet. Most of those doors were, in fact, barred to women when I graduated from Wellesley in 1963. Another century, another era, even another color. I was a mellow yellow girl. Golden, if you pushed, which my generation had to do. As women, or girls as they called us, we were not invited to participate in the working world except at the very lowest levels. But thanks to the knowledge we gained and the courage we inhaled on this campus, we figured it out. We smashed the barriers so that you, every one of you, can now walk into any doorway that you want. That's the way it works. That's the way it works. Pay it forward when you're ready to do the same. What you have earned as graduates, or about to be graduates, of this amazing institution is the ability to move on, to dare to do anything. What you retain as graduates of this amazing institution is the privilege to return anytime, emotionally, spiritually, or just to visit. As Victor said, this is home base, always. And it's what you've learned in here that will help determine what you do out there. It certainly did for me. Someone at a Jewish newspaper in Philadelphia, which is my hometown, once asked me if my background had anything to do with my choice of a career, since Jews were always asking questions and answering with a question. I asked him if he was serious. In fact, I became a reporter for a very corny reason: to tell the truth, to go behind the curtain and expose the wizardry, to find out why and when and where and how, to help make sense and thus bring order to this distinctly disordered world. By an accident of timing and pure good luck, I have lived the glory years of television network journalism, when news was still recognized as a public service and when getting the story was the only thing that mattered, when we were reality TV. At its best, it's been energizing and humbling and very satisfying. I relish getting bad guys. I adored bringing people together in front of what we used to call the electronic hearth. I like, what's not to like, saving lives. And I loved celebrating the turn of this century on the air with, maybe 10,000 other revelers, Indian revelers in Mumbai, for our ABC News Millennium show, where a very wise fellow helped me put things into perspective. Aren't you excited about the new millennium? I said to him, pretty charged up myself. Well, he said to me, you know, for you folks in America, of course you're excited. This is your first. We've had a few already. Perspective. A few years ago, I did an interview with Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, whose brilliant mind and true grit helped make women equal in the law. She took me back to 1993 when she was first appointed as the second woman on the bench to the equally liberated Sandra Day O'Connor. So, as Justice Ginsburg told me this story, the day she took her seat, an organization called the National Association of Women Judges had brought along some presents for Ginsburg and O'Connor. and the presents were T-shirts. There was a T-shirt for each of the women. One read, "I'm Sandra, not Ruth." The other read, "I'm Ruth, not Sandra." Justice Ginsburg said with great glee, "Now," she said, "I went through the entire last term," which was what, my 7th on the court, "with no one calling me Justice O'Connor. It took 6 years," she said, "but that to me was a sign that we'd really made it. Now they know there are 2 women." Who would have imagined 3? But this wasn't just about numbers. It was not just about getting in. It was about producing a better product, better reflecting the country, and in my case, covering the news and presenting the audience with a more textured, more accurate sense of the world that we inhabit. And as one of the first women in the business, I not only covered the feminist movement, I was part of it, stepping into jobs that did not exist until I got there, then chronicling the social revolution that has literally changed the rules of society. Because until women showed up in American newsrooms and American legislatures, there were no major stories or laws on childcare, on women's rights, on sexual harassment. We are the ones who lobbied for stories to combat the evils that were savaging our bodies: breast cancer, rape, battering husbands. We are the ones who insisted on putting other successful women on the air and into every office so that little girls and little boys could know that women, in fact, can do anything in the world. Oh, that's worth a cheer, sure, yes. I am thrilled that the rules have changed, but I am constantly reminded that the change can be unsettling. How different was it? Well, I grew up in a world where a mouse was a furry rodent, a Twitter was a bird call, and Catherine Lee Bates, as far as I knew back then, was merely a dormitory. When I was at Wellesley, as Kim mentioned, I majored in classical Greek, which, by the way, I suggest even if you haven't majored in Greek, go study it at some point. It will make you a better person, I promise. At any event, I majored in classical Greek, which really hasn't changed all that much, but the collapsed civilization I studied was that of Pericles, not Papandreou. And of course, when I sat where you are sitting, the Secretary of State of the United States was and always had been a white male, not one of whom had gone to Wellesley. Worse yet, success back then meant defying nature. Anatomy, Dr. Freud told us, was destiny, condemning women to a status far below our own expectations. Little wonder so many tried to act and think like men. We wanted to prove we were just as good as the guys because they held all the passwords. We worked very hard to detach our bodies from our business lives because we had to. In those days, getting pregnant could get you fired. Giggling about girl stuff meant you weren't serious. Crying in the office labeled you unprofessional. Newspapers tapped into the zeitgeist with headlines screaming, "Beautiful blonde murdered," as if the color of her hair had anything to do with the crime that took her life. Or, this one's my favorite, "Grandmother elected prime minister," as if Golda Meir's ovaries had qualified her to be the leader of Israel. Today, men weep in public, often when they're confessing to betraying their wives. Babies have become common campaign props. And the U.S. Congress, the United States Congress, has lactation stations. Being a grandma is not only acceptable, it is partly how the Speaker of the House of Representatives defined herself when she ran for the office, later including her grandkids and the children of others, a new badge of honor when she took the oath of office. Although I must say I do wonder if it is so cool to be a grandma in public life, how come no guy running for office ever defines himself as a grandpa? At any rate, it is now safe politically to be female. It is okay if you choose to be a mom, a grandmom, a woman with womanly concerns, and if you choose to be a scientist, a corporate executive, a senator, an astronaut, a journalist, all at the same time. That is the reality on this campus, on this continent.